Good afternoon, everyone. This is the news with b.c.begley. I am your host, yours truly, and it's Monday, December the 15th, 2025, and let's jump right into our top news stories for today. Director and actor Rob Reiner, 78, and his wife, Michelle Reiner, 68, were both found dead on Sunday afternoon in their Brentwood home, and authorities are investigating the case as an apparent homicide. Los Angeles Fire Department responders discovered the couple around 3:30 p.m. local time, and the Reiner family later confirmed their deaths, asking for privacy. The LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division is leading the investigation, with no forced entry reported and no suspect or cause of death publicly confirmed, though some media outlets have cited unverified details. Police sealed off the neighborhood as investigators processed the scene and increased patrols as a precaution, the San Francisco Chronicle has reported. Reiner, whose career spanned 5 decades and included films such as The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally, is survived by 3 children. The investigation still remains ongoing. Police say a father and a son carried out a mass shooting during a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, killing 16 people, including the father, and injuring dozens. Authorities identified the suspects as a 50-year-old licensed gun owner and his 24-year-old son, who remains in critical but stable condition, and said that no additional suspects are being sought. The attack occurred during the Hanukkah by the Sea event and is being investigated as a targeted act of terrorism against the Jewish community. Police recovered 6 legally registered firearms and multiple active but rudimentary improvised explosive devices from the scene and related properties, Fox News has reported. Victims ranged in age from 10 to 87 years old, with at least 40 people hospitalized, making it the deadliest attack against Jews since October 7th of 2023. 3 months after the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the Justice Department is weighing whether to bring federal charges against the suspect Tyler Robinson, potentially under a novel theory that the killing constituted an anti-Christian hate crime. Robinson already faces multiple state charges in Utah, including aggravated murder, and prosecutors plan to seek the death penalty. Some federal prosecutors have pushed back, arguing that the case does not clearly fit existing federal statutes and that applying a hate crime law would be highly unusual. Justice Department officials say the federal investigation still remains ongoing, even as they express confidence in the strength of the state case, NBC News has reported. Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA and a prominent figure in the MAGA movement, was killed during an appearance at Utah Valley University, and the case is widely viewed as an act of domestic terrorism despite the lack of a specific federal terrorism statute. A federal judge has ruled that prosecutors must return evidence seized from Daniel Richman, a former attorney for James Comey, in the dismissed criminal case against the former FBI director. The ruling allows the DOJ to keep a copy of the files with the court and to seek a new warrant if they wish to pursue them again. Richman had sued to prevent the use of materials he claimed were improperly seized during a 2019 probe that ended in 2021 without any charges. Prosecutors had used the files this year to build their October indictment of Comey for allegedly making false statements and obstructing Congress, CNBC has reported. Last month, a separate judge dismissed Comey's case, along with one against New York Attorney General Letitia James, citing that both indictments were obtained under an unlawfully appointed U.S. attorney. German police have arrested 5 men suspected of planning a vehicle ramming attack on a Christmas market in Germany. The suspects include 3 Moroccans, a 56-year-old Egyptian reportedly serving as a local imam, and a 37-year-old Syrian, who are all accused of plotting or encouraging the attack. Prosecutors say the Egyptian called for the attack with the intent to kill or injure as many people as possible. All 5 were remanded in custody, with formal arrest warrants issued for 4, and authorities believe that the threat has now been averted, the Express has reported. The arrest follows heightened security at German Christmas markets after previously deadly attacks, and the investigation remains ongoing. A shooting at Brown University on Saturday, December the 13th, has left at least 2 people dead and 9 injured, with most victims confirmed as students. The university remains on lockdown as the male suspect, described as wearing dark clothing and possibly in his 30s, is still at large. Providence police released a video showing the suspect walking down Hope Street after the attack. The university issued a campus-wide alert urging students and staff to run, hide, and fight if necessary during the active shooter situation, the Providence Journal has reported. Officials, including President Donald Trump, have expressed condolences to the victims and their families. 2 American soldiers and a U.S. civilian interpreter were all killed and 3 other soldiers were injured in an ambush by a lone ISIS gunman in Syria during counterterrorism operations. The gunman was engaged and then killed by U.S. forces, and helicopters evacuated the wounded to a local base at the Iraq border. President Donald Trump vowed, quote, serious retaliation and expressed condolences to the victims and their families. The attack occurred in a region that's not fully controlled by the Syrian government and involved a joint patrol with Syrian forces, The Sun has reported. The incident highlights ongoing U.S.-led efforts against ISIS in Syria, where propaganda and recruitment efforts continue despite prior troop withdrawals. The Israeli military said it killed Raed Saad, a top Hamas commander, in a targeted strike on a car in Gaza on Saturday, marking the most high-profile assassination since the ceasefire 2 months ago. Saad, a senior figure in Hamas, helped plan the October 7th attack on southern Israel that triggered the 2-year war. 4 people were killed in the strike, though Hamas has not confirmed Saad's death, calling the attack, quote, a criminal breach of the ceasefire. The assassination could further strain the fragile truce brokered back in October, which freed hostages and exchanged prisoners, but has not fully halted violence in Gaza, the New York Times has reported. Analysts say Saad's killing is a symbolic and practical blow to Hamas, but the group remains capable and motivated to maintain control over Gaza. The U.S. military is deploying additional aircraft, ships, and support units to the Caribbean, giving President Donald Trump expanded options to escalate pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The buildup includes stealth fighters, electronic warfare planes, refueling tankers, warships, and drones that could enable airstrikes, enforce an oil embargo, or seize more tankers. President Trump has warned of possible land strikes and authorized covert operations, while Venezuela has responded by raising defenses and warning that it is prepared to retaliate. Analysts say deployment signals serious intent, but caution that military action could trigger regional instability involving allies such as Cuba and neighboring Colombia, the Wall Street Journal has reported. And while a full invasion is unlikely, experts believe targeted airstrikes and stricter enforcement of oil sanctions are the most probable next steps. Okay, here's a look at the live weather radar from the National Weather Service, and let me just be frank with you. It's cold outside, and you may need a pair of gloves. Alright, let's go to the National Weather Forecast for today. Heavy rain and strong winds will impact the Pacific Northwest as multiple weather systems bring abundant moisture, creating a flash flood risk in parts of western Washington and northwestern Oregon. Conditions will improve briefly on Tuesday before another system arrives, bringing renewed precipitation and heavy mountain snow to the northern Cascades. Lake effect snow will taper off across the upper Great Lakes this afternoon and the lower Great Lakes this evening, and an Arctic air mass will keep temperatures below average across the east through tonight, with freezing conditions extending along the Gulf Coast. Meanwhile, above-average warmth will expel from the west into the central U.S., with potential record highs in parts of the west. The mysterious interstellar object, 3I Atlas, is reportedly, quote, changing colors as it approaches its closest point to Earth, sparking speculation that it could be an alien spaceship. Theoretical physicist Avi Loeb, who has long suggested that some interstellar objects may be artificial, believes the object is not a natural comet but a potential craft from another galaxy. Recent satellite imagery shows its surrounding halo shifting from red to green, possibly due to changing molecular emissions from gases released near the sun. Loeb also noted a brief gamma-ray burst coinciding with the object's discovery, suggesting a potential link to its unusual behavior, though this remains speculative, the Daily Star has reported. In a blog post, he even included a whimsical poem imagining Earth acknowledging him as the aliens make landfall, highlighting both the mystery and the intrigue surrounding Three-Eye Atlas. Chile has shifted sharply to the right after Jose Antonio Cast, a hardline conservative, won the presidential runoff election with over 58% of the vote, defeating the Communist Party candidate. Cast, leader of the Republican Party, campaigned heavily on crime, immigration, and economic concerns, promising to restore security and order. Celebrations erupted in Santiago, as Cast pledged to be, quote, the president of all Chileans, and warned undocumented migrants to leave the country before he takes office on March the 11th of next year. His victory continues a regional trend in Latin America toward right-leaning governments focused on security and migration, following recent shifts in Bolivia, Argentina, and Ecuador, NPR has reported. International leaders, including Argentina's President Javier Milei and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have congratulated Cast, emphasizing strengthened regional security and cooperation. Hong Kong's High Court has convicted pro-democracy activist and newspaper founder Jimmy Lai on 3 charges under the 2020 national security law, including conspiring with foreign forces to threaten China's national security and publishing seditious material. Lai, who is 78 years old and who has been in detention since December of 2020, now faces the possibility of a life sentence. Judges described him as, quote, the mastermind of a criminal conspiracy, citing his alleged attempts to involve the United States against China, while Lai had pleaded not guilty and testified for 52 days. Human rights and press freedom groups condemned the verdict, calling it a severe blow to media freedom in Hong Kong and a form of political persecution, Al Jazeera has reported. Lai is scheduled for a pre-sentencing hearing on January the 12th, and it remains unclear whether he will appeal the verdict. Ukraine has agreed to abandon its goal of joining NATO in exchange for legally binding security guarantees from the United States, European allies, Canada, Japan, and other partners. President Volodymyr Zelensky said ahead of talks in Berlin. This marks a major shift for Kyiv, which had long sought NATO membership as protection against Russian aggression, and it aligns with one of Russia's key demands. Zelensky described the guarantees as a compromise, aiming to prevent further Russian invasions while maintaining Ukraine's sovereignty. The move comes amid high-level discussions involving U.S. envoys, European leaders, and Zelensky himself, focusing on a 20-point peace plan and a potential ceasefire along current front lines, NBC News has reported. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is hosting the summit, highlighting Europe's ongoing support for Ukraine while negotiating an end to the conflict. A rocket attack from Cambodia on Sunday killed a 63-year-old Thai villager, marking the first confirmed civilian death directly linked to a week of fighting along the Thailand-Cambodia border. The conflict, sparked by a December 7th skirmish that wounded 2 Thai soldiers, involves long-standing territorial disputes over frontier land containing ancient temple ruins. Both sides have employed heavy weaponry, including Cambodia's truck-mounted BM-21 rocket launchers and Thai fighter jets, as well as drones for surveillance and attacks, resulting in over 24 deaths and displacing over 500,000 people thus far. The Thai government condemned Cambodia for targeting civilian areas, while the Cambodian Prime Minister praised his country's response, framing it as an act of self-defense, the AP has reported. Efforts to broker a ceasefire, previously promoted by U.S. President Donald Trump and Malaysia, have faltered, with new clashes erupting on multiple fronts, including naval exchanges in the Gulf of Thailand. Metrelli, the first female chief of Britain's MI6, would deliver her inaugural public speech on Monday, warning that, quote, the front line is everywhere, amid growing threats from Russia and other hostile actors. She is expected to highlight challenges including technological disruption, information warfare, and terrorism, emphasizing Russia's hybrid operations against Western allies of Ukraine. Mecherelli will stress the importance of mastering technology alongside traditional spycraft, calling for fluency in programming and human intelligence to tackle modern security threats. She will also underline the power of human agency, urging a, quote, rediscovery of our shared humanity in guiding technological capabilities wisely, CNN has reported. The address follows government actions targeting Russian and Chinese cyber operations and comes shortly after MI6 launched the Silent Courier portal to gather intelligence from anonymous sources worldwide. Guatemala's president declared a 15-day state of emergency in several towns after armed men attacked a military post and a police station, hijacked buses, and killed at least 5 people. He said criminal gangs aim to push security forces out and take control of the region, prompting the government to reinforce security. The attackers, some in military-style gear, are linked to extortion and drug trafficking and posed a serious threat to the local communities. The emergency restricts public gatherings, protest, and the carrying of weapons to restore order, ABC News has reported. The president emphasized that the attacks targeted security forces, not local community disputes, despite long-standing local tensions over water and roads. A drone strike hit a UN peacekeeping logistics base in Sudan, killing 6 Bangladeshi peacekeepers and wounding 8 others, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has said. The Sudanese military blamed the attack on the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, which is a paramilitary group fighting the army for control of the country, while the RSF has not commented. Guterres condemned the strike as potentially a war crime and called for accountability and an immediate ceasefire to allow a Sudanese-led political process. The UN mission, a disputed region in Sudan and in South Sudan, has been deployed since 2011, The Guardian has reported. Sudan's ongoing conflict, sparked by a power struggle in April of 2023, has killed over 40,000 people, caused widespread atrocities, and created a severe humanitarian crisis. Archaeologists in Norway have uncovered a Viking-age burial of a woman, notable for the unusual inclusion of 2 scallop shells placed at her mouth, a practice previously unknown in pre-Christian Viking graves. The woman was buried with the typical Viking-era jewelry and clothing, suggesting she was a free, possibly married woman of some status. The grave also contained carefully arranged bird bones, hinting at symbolic or ritual significance. And while scallop shells have symbolic meanings in other cultures and later Christian contexts, their purpose in 9th century Norway still remains a mystery, Science Alert has reported. Researchers plan to study the remains and artifacts and the DNA to learn more about the woman and any potential connections to an earlier burial discovered nearby. Today is December 15th, 2025, and on this day in history, in the year 1791, the Bill of Rights was ratified when Virginia approved the final needed amendments, officially adding the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. In the year 1939, the movie Gone with the Wind premiered in Atlanta, becoming one of the most iconic and highest-grossing films in cinema history. And in the year 1961, former Nazi official Adolf Eichmann was sentenced to death in Israel for crimes against humanity related to the Holocaust. December the 15th is also Bill of Rights Day, marking the ratification of the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Alright, it's 19 past the hour, and let's do a quick market update for today. The Nasdaq is currently down 0.28%. Gold is also down 0.20%. Oil is down 1.44% as of right now. Bitcoin is also down 2.33%. The Dow Jones is also down 0.04%. And the S&P 500 is the lone holdout. He is up at 0.09%. And that's the market update for today as of this moment. And now While I got you here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date on all of our live shows and our individual news stories. And now let's go into our last block of news for today. The DOJ sued Fulton County, Georgia, seeking 2020 election records, including ballots and signature envelopes, after the county refused to comply with subpoenas, citing state laws sealing the documents. The lawsuit names Fulton County Clerk of Courts Shay Alexander, alleging violations of the Civil Rights Act, and requests the records be produced within 5 days of a court order. The move comes amid ongoing scrutiny of Georgia election processes following President Trump's narrow 2020 loss and then his subsequent efforts to challenge those results. President Trump was previously indicted in Fulton County related to attempts to overturn the election, but he had those charges against him dropped last month, NBC News has reported. The DOJ's action is part of a broader effort by its Civil Rights Division to enforce federal election laws, including recent lawsuits against 4 other states for failing to provide voter registration lists. iRobot, maker of the Roomba vacuum, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection after agreeing to be taken private by its primary manufacturer, Picea Robotics. The company faced declining profits due to competition from lower-priced Chinese rivals, U.S. tariffs, and rising cost, generating $682 million in revenue in 2024, but struggling with debt and reduced margins. Under the bankruptcy plan, Picea will acquire 100% of iRobot's equity, cancel $190 million in outstanding loans, and cover an additional $74 million owed under their manufacturing agreement, while other creditors will be paid in full. Despite financial troubles, iRobot remains dominant in the United States and Japanese markets and says operations, apps, and customer support will continue uninterrupted, Reuters has reported. Once valued at $3.56 billion during the pandemic, the company is now worth around $140 million, reflecting the challenges of a highly competitive robotic vacuum market. United Launch Alliance will launch 27 Amazon LEO satellites on an Atlas V rocket from Cape Canaveral on Monday. Amazon LEO, formerly Project Kuiper, aims to build a 3,200 satellite internet mega constellation in low Earth orbit across more than 80 launches. This will be the 4th Atlas V mission for the project, which has already placed 153 satellites in orbit, excluding 2 prototypes that were launched back in 2023. The constellation will provide global internet service and compete with SpaceX's Starlink, which has already launched over 9,000 satellites, Space.com has reported. Multiple rockets, including SpaceX's Falcon 9, ULA's Vulcan Centaur, Blue Origin's New Glenn, are all being used to deploy the network. Egypt unveiled the restored Colossi of Memnon in Luxor, 2 colossal alabaster statues of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, following a renovation project lasting about 2 decades. The statues, toppled by an earthquake around 1200 BC and partially quarried, were painstakingly reassembled by archaeologists, preserving remnants of the pharaoh's mortuary temple. The 14.5 and 13.6 meter statues depict Amenhotep III seated, facing east toward the Nile, with smaller statues of his wife at their feet. The unveiling follows the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum and is part of efforts to boost Egypt's tourism industry, which contributed 8% of GDP in 2024, with 15.7 million visitors, ABC News has reported. Authorities aim to attract 18 million tourists in 2025 and reach 30 million annually by the year 2032, highlighting Luxor as a key cultural destination. Nearly 28 years after JonBenet Ramsey's 1996 murder, Boulder police say her case remains a top priority. Authorities have conducted new interviews and tested evidence using evolving DNA technology, though details of the findings have not yet been released. JonBenet, a 6-year-old child beauty queen, was found dead in her family's basement after being strangled, sexually assaulted, and suffering a fractured skull. Her parents and older brother were all cleared as suspects in 2008 following DNA testing, and her mother passed away in 2006. USA Today has reported. Police urge anyone with information to come forward, emphasizing it is never too late to help solve that case. A storm over the weekend brought heavy snow to the northeast and plunging sub-zero temperatures to the Midwest, causing slick roads and widespread travel disruptions. The New York-New Jersey area received its first significant snowfall of the season, while crews worked overnight in New Jersey and Pennsylvania to clear roads and reduce speed limits. Over 1,000 U.S. flights were delayed, with more than 100 cancellations due to the storm. Arctic air from Canada pushed temperatures in the northern United States as low as negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, with Minneapolis recording negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, the AP has reported. Meanwhile, the Pacific Northwest, recently hit by catastrophic flooding, faced additional rain and wind as forecasters warned of worsening conditions. Erica Kirk announced that she will meet privately with commentator Candace Owens on Monday, December the 15th, marking their first direct conversation following public tensions after her late husband's death. Both women agreed to pause public commentary, live streams, and tweets until after the meeting. The discussion aims to address weeks of online speculation and conspiracy theories in a more thoughtful, personal setting. Erica has previously expressed the emotional toll of unfounded claims targeting her family and associates, emphasizing the harm caused by online attacks, Fox News has reported. The meeting reflects a mutual effort to reduce misunderstandings and speak directly, as Erica continues to focus on preserving her late husband Charlie Kirk's legacy. Alright, it's 26 past the hour, and that is our show for today. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. I will see everyone tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for another episode of The News with B.C. Begley. And until then, I hope everybody stays warm and has a great day.